Well, I want to welcome everybody in. This is the latest edition of TMC Tech Talk. And as you can see, got Mortgage Coach President Joe Puthur as my esteemed guest here today. So, Joe, thank you for joining in for the latest round of Tech Talk. Um, Quick reminder before we kind of get started with the discussion. Tech Talk takes place every other Thursday where I'm joined by a special guest, really central to mortgage technology and innovating within our industry, where we kind of talk about current events, new innovations, consumer experience, and also spend some time highlighting our guests' direct contributions to pushing forward innovation in the mortgage industry and some exciting things going on at their organization. So, obviously, any comments, suggestions on future discussion topics, industry leaders that you'd like to see joining us on Tech Talk, feel free to reach out to me or the team here at TMC directly, and can also drop those suggestions in the chat, as well as any questions that you might have for Joe over the course of today's discussion. We'd love to hear them, and certainly if we have time, we're going to want to dive into your feedback as well. So on that note, again, we're welcoming in longtime TMC preferred partner. Actually, Joe, I think it'll be coming up on 5 years this summer that we've been partnering with Mortgage Coach. So happy to welcome you in, Mortgage Coach President Joe Puthur.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having us. And, always exciting to talk to the TMC community and forward-thinking lenders that are looking to become better, especially in a market like what we're in today. So always great to see TMC putting the education forward. So great to be here, Tom.
Oh, appreciate you taking the time to join us. Well, kind of kick things off. I always like to dive a little bit into the background of my guest, and you're very well known within our industry as being a tech entrepreneur. So I'd love it if we could kick things off just by giving you the opportunity to provide our audience a little bit of your background and kind of how you found your way specifically into the mortgage industry and mortgage technology.
Well, sure, Tom. I've been developing innovations for mortgage originators and lenders for well over 2 decades. My previous firm, Lasso Technologies, had been acquired by Ellie Mae to help bring the LOS to the cloud and really create that accessibility that originators can work from anywhere. And my transition 2009 to helping Mortgage Coach become an enterprise platform, take these best practices of the industry's top producers, right? 35% of originators that do more than 100 transactions use Mortgage Coach on every transaction. How do we take those best practices and make them work across an entire lender in an automated fashion? And that's what I was tasked to do about a decade ago. And now, since then, we've brought hundreds of lenders and thousands of individual professionals from credit unions and banks to an independent mortgage lenders to providing advice and not price. And so that was really what brought me into this journey was, well, we really innovated the way to produce a mortgage in my LOS experience days, the idea of how to present a mortgage and demystify the financial instrument of a home loan really was something special. I mean, when you look at mortgage and real estate, it represents such a large portion of the economy and the GDP contribution that ultimately what we're doing here is really special. But if the consumer doesn't understand the benefit, it's simply going to be underutilized. So making sure that the mortgage remains accessible and that the 30-year mortgage, which is something special here in the States, a lot of other places don't have 30-year fixed instrument, which is so specifically empowering to let a middle-class individual access higher education, access entrepreneurship, access, the life that one wants to live. So much is based on where you live. It's just incredible to be in the industry, and that's definitely what's kept me here, Tom. But 2 decades of helping people be better now.
Amazing. You've been in our industry for 2 decades now, and I got to give you credit. Your contributions in Mortgage Coach directly. I mean, the mortgage and the home buying transaction, it's on average the largest single financial transaction that's going to take place in a consumer's lifetime. And your organization really goes above and beyond, not only through providing a technology platform where originators can guide and educate the consumer on their home buying options and how to position it as an asset. But also, your team does an amazing job on a regular basis of really providing educational content out to the originator community too, and helping them, understand best practices and different scripts or, ways to kind of pivot and present that out to the consumers so they truly can understand all the options out there and kind of marry that with the technology and the information that Mortgage Coach provides on the device we all have glued to our hands every day. So it's amazing to see the continued growth and really how far out in front your organization's been in providing that access to the originators and the consumers.
Well, thanks for calling that out, Tom. I mean, we're really proud of our originator community and how much folks share. I mean, our YouTube channel, over 12,000 subscribers, all of our social networks have many, many members and tens of thousands of professionals that share best practices and ideas. Because one of the most amazing things about the industry that we're in is just a few 100,000 professionals serve every home buyer coast to coast. And so to be able to help those folks that make the decision to provide advice and not price, that's really a special responsibility, but one that goes well beyond software. It goes to finding the advisors who decide to have the heart of the teacher, to make sure that that people are learning how to present this insight. And it is a decision that professionals make, that are we going to sell a rate, or are we going to help present a mortgage as part of a financial plan? And today is more important than ever. Homeowners right now are competing to win in the most incredibly competitive market that I've seen. We've got homes in areas that would have ordinarily gotten a few offers, getting double-digit offers. You have homes that are 6 digits above asking price on a regular basis. You have appraisal challenges, and you have nervous and scared home buyers that are afraid of, what if I'm paying too much for the house today? Home buyers that are worried about, if I sell now and try to move to the community I need to be in for a new job or additional education, am I going to be priced out of the market? And to the credit of originators today, I think more lenders and more advisors than ever are reaching out to Dave and myself at Mortgage Coach to find out, how do they help these home buyers understand their options better than ever before. But it's never been more critical to be in the mortgage industry today as we think about how real estate's going to lead to economic recovery. And it's never been more critical to be able to explain the wide amount of loan products that lenders today have in their arsenal. I mean, very, very few originators master all of the different options that they can offer, whether it's stated income option, non-QM options, down payment assistance options, explaining MI as a competitive advantage. I mean, how do you make sure people come in equipped to make that winning offer? And that's just never been more important than it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Living in a Midwest market where, in my lifetime, I've never seen, offers coming in above asking price, the amount of homes going off the market as soon as they're going on it, the information that you can transmit through, really a video, short snippet from an originator leveraging Mortgage Coach, in real time. It's so vital, since time is of the essence. If you want to be able to get that offer in on the home you want and potentially have it be accepted amongst so many competing bidders.
Yeah, and the home buyer themselves, being ready to have that conversation. In terms of Mortgage Coach, again, it's a simple presentation that gets displayed to the potential home buyer. It's got the narration, as you mentioned, for an originator to be able to put that information into context, but again, presenting those various loan options and scenarios. And the key about providing this type of education is empowerment. Right? If your originator is not going beyond the pre-qualification letter, they're really not making sure that that borrower has everything that they need to know to make that winning offer. And there's just so many examples of how you would present this information. It just comes down to, are you going to do it? And at least from our perspective at Mortgage Coach, there's, you can either give a spreadsheet and a yellow sticky pad and write out 100 calculations, or you can use a Mortgage Coach total cost analysis. There really isn't anything in between, because you have to present this information in some fashion to the consumer.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. And it just speaks to consumer preferences out there right now. We're hearing more and more data about the millennial generation quickly becoming the largest up and coming borrower segment in our industry. And while consumer trends are, that generation is going to highly leverage their devices towards doing their own research, you still want to be able to have that consultation with their trusted professional as the originator at the end of the day to kind of help point them in the direction based off of the research they've done, in feeling comfortable and confident making that educated decision, whether it's on the property or on the loan type that's really going to fit their needs and kind of their financial situation. So it's awesome.
Well, yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'd have to say, and I think most of the professionals have been in the industry as long as, we have, there is, I think, an urban legend to some degree of the millennial that wants a completely hands-off transaction, right? I mean, there is no magic money tree, and we've seen, opportunities for online lending from the 90s forward, and you haven't seen this mass transition of consumer that says, I'm going to give all my confidence to an online form. What you find is uninformed consumers. You find that mainstream media, whether any channel that you pick, is sensationalizing information. Anytime the Fed makes a news announcement or something's happening, there's absolute pandemonium about what are people saying and how does that reflect on the housing market. I mean, I could just today, there's a dozen headlines, that try to trigger the emotion of the consumer. And here's the reality. The reality is people always need to buy homes, and inventory is super low. I mean, we got 1 million units and 1 million for realtors. There's more agents than houses. And so, that puts us in a precarious position when the agents aren't educated and the consumer's not educated. Consumer coming in thinking they need 20% down, no idea how they're going to handle if there is an appraisal gap, lowballing the offer, not getting chosen. You've got agents that aren't presenting qualified offers. I mean, how many folks who are here following along have known an agent who doesn't present a VA loan? And how heartbreaking is that when you've got a service member whose offer doesn't get presented because there's an illusion that that loan is somehow scratch and dent compared to a traditional mortgage. So as a mortgage advisor, we have a social responsibility to represent home ownership to every person that we serve. And that means making sure that they know how the options can impact them. And one of my favorites is really looking at how MI, you've got a lot of great MI partners at TMC, and looking at how a single payment MI premium that's subsidized in the transaction can increase the purchase power for a customer, really making sure that in the situation where you have, the winning offer being substantially higher than the appraised value, you have to make the connection for the consumer that they can still afford that home. And that's ultimately what, like this example of a guild originator is able to show happening when they're showing, hey, the various options that they can provide and the fact that they can create that purchase power through an MI scenario. And so, you don't have the typical consumer understanding even what mortgage insurance is. And unfortunately, you don't have very many lenders who have articulated strategies on a daily basis in a not rate oriented environment where they're just competing on, do I have the lowest rates and fees? But the good news is it doesn't take much to make that switch from good to great. It really just takes an attitude and perspective shift that, am I calling a customer to sell or am I calling a customer to serve? And if I'm calling a customer to serve, that means I'm going to explain to them what's up in the industry, whether I get the loan or not, you're going to get more loans. And if you're taking that on the forward part of the conversation, you're going to get more loans faster. The studies that we've done of our customers is that they'll be twice as profitable, because they are positioning products that aren't just standard or cookie cutter. So they're winning transactions that may have been slightly more difficult or slightly more rate oriented that commit earlier in the transaction. And you're reducing price exceptions and variations. So if a consumer is committing on the first or second phone call versus the fourth or fifth phone call, what does that do to your ultimate price point, and how do you prevent erosion margin and profitability. And so that all comes down to, I mean, it's been the same for 2 decades. We've just worked hard to make it a lot easier for anybody to have that top producer conversation.
Right. And I mean, you're arming them directly with the tools to be able to do that in real time. And, even if it's not leading to an immediate deal, say with an existing client, just being able to go above and beyond and provide that superior experience and become a trusted advisor to the client is naturally going to lead towards more referral business. And just doing what others aren't out there and making yourself unique.
Sure, sure. But really, I have to emphasize that not just the client. Client is crucial. Borrower is, obviously important in the transaction. But in a purchase-oriented market, the agent, realtor is equally, in many ways, important too, because they can, sway the transaction every moment that you're not there with the consumer. And I think lenders across the country have struggled with what do you do to manage that relationship with the purchase agent. And some folks are successful, but the broad majority of originators, I think this has been traditionally a struggle. The personalities of agents are different, the pressures that they have to push their in-house lenders or their builder lender or whatnot. There is a lot of complexity to all of the stakeholders that are vying for that customer's commitment. But what I've seen in the market today, and like I said a few moments ago about the amount of inventory and the number of agents, the majority of agents don't have a heightened awareness of how financial strategies and mortgage strategies can ensure that the buyer is providing a great offer and a closable rapid transaction. If we think the consumer doesn't know much about mortgage insurance, telling you the realtor is even further off. And so how do we close that gap? And how do we close that gap without extra work, without extra time on the originator? And one of the key ways that we look at that is all the borrower education that you provide, you're providing simultaneously to the realtor as well. So the mortgage coach presentations, TCAs, et cetera, are usually sent to the agent. And we're also monitoring when the agent is viewing and consuming that presentation. So we're sending originators, hey, borrower A is looking at the total cost analysis. You're going to want to talk to them. We're also sending them that same notification about the agent. Hey, the agent is looking at this presentation. You're going to want to connect the dots for them. So that back and forth, that bi-directional ability to educate is really, I think, very, very crucial in today's market. Whether you're using our platform or not, you have to get that done.
Absolutely. And I think the more education you can provide, the better, because a lot of times there's that fear out there of, especially with the real estate agent, I've got to keep them happy every way from Sunday. Otherwise, I'm going to lose their business. So to be able to provide the tools that the mortgage coach brings to the table and the educational content is another way to kind of differentiate that value.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, differentiation through education is a lot about that decision, to learn. And one of the things that we've really worked hard this year to do is to figure out ways that lenders can better educate their teams, that branch managers and regional managers who know their local market can share these strategies, because I don't really believe that the originator earns some of the labels that some people give them, in terms of folks that take a lot of applications and don't close a lot of volume. I think that closing that gap really is about helping them understand how to make those transactions that seem complicated easy. And modern lenders today, the folks that are making headlines, the folks that are acquiring other folks, the folks that are growing and thriving and making investments in technology, they're doing a lot to make origination more modern and simple for the professionals that they serve. But I think it's the professionals actually stepping outside their initial comfort zone. And again, as I alluded to earlier, deciding to serve and not sell, where you're just seeing larger brands making that investment. Never before have we had so many lenders buy Mortgage Coach for all their originators, making sure that everyone can provide it. Never before have we seen more automation where presentations are just being delivered on behalf of the originator. So you've got a lot of fantastic partners. One of the great partners that you have in the network's Total Expert. Total Expert has done an amazing innovation with Mortgage Coach, where They look at the past information of the customer in the marketing operating system, right? They're analyzing all of your past records in Total Expert solution. They're identifying records that make sense based on different attributes of the loan. And then they're presenting an automated mortgage review with complete total cost analysis with the right information, the right branding, et cetera. And our lenders are tracking how many of those automated analyses are coming back as actual qualified applications that lead to closed transactions. And some of our case studies with TMC members show 6 and 7% of those completely automated hands-off presentations generating a closable transaction. And so I think that it's the attitude that the lender realizes education is not a choice, it's a necessity. It's not a nice to have, it's a need to have. But how do we help our originators make that transition painlessly? And one of the things that I'm most excited about this year is we've made leaps and bounds of how we educate on how to use Mortgage Coach, because it's not difficult to create the comparisons I just showed. The difficult part is deciding how you're going to put your own voice and your own explanation around an appraisal gap strategy, around a VA strategy, around a 15-year or an early payment or a DPA or a CRA or the infinite array of loan options that are there. The originator has to get their own voice, their own tenacity, their own empathy behind that. And it's that initial leap. And we've made that so much easier this year, so much more measurable through things like gamification and other reporting, that we've just seen thousands of originators reach that black belt status of providing hundreds of presentations to consumers and making their President's Club, making their top producers club, really setting the volume. And that's not just because we had a great market and a lot of refi transactions, that's purchases and making sure that you've got, a footprint and a foothold in the market ahead, where it's all about, putting homeowners in the houses that they deserve.
Absolutely. And it's such a key to originators that have that comfort level of providing that presentation too, because it's so much more centric to a purchase market. And you laid out, a lot of the more niche products that are coming back mainstream is lenders are looking to kind of diversify their offerings to grab as much market share as possible as we become less dependent on the refi boom. You mentioned in your past comments, touching on kind of the key integration with Total Expert. And I think, some of those automated engagements, seeing a 6 to 7% increase is a huge benefit. And you've always been a champion for collaboration among leading technology providers, within the origination process. And I'd love, for you to share with us some key tech stack players that Mortgage Coach is also plugged into to help empower originators in providing those TCAs. And, even sharing an example of the power of, two LOs or the lender behind that connectivity.
So I just showed, for just briefly, an example of a Total Expert integration where, again, you had a great piece of collateral that went out. When the individual clicked on that collateral, it included a fully completed total cost analysis that showed a great loan comparison and drove that inbound transaction like we just talked about. And in the Mortgage Coach solution, we have a automated receptacle or a tab, whether you're logging into our app or online, where all of your automated presentations are flowing into. And today we have 26 providers where automated information can flow. Folks like Sales Boomerang, Experience.com. Certainly we have many of the MI providers that you support, where we have these integrations to push and pull data directly through the solution. Point of sale, like Simple Nexus, this is a very special type of integration where you look at when you take a point of sale experience where the consumer starts an app, they put their first name into the Simple Nexus solution. Immediately, Simple Nexus has created a Mortgage Coach total cost analysis that's viewable in the app itself. And it's also viewable here as the originator in your Mortgage Coach dashboard to now grab that loan application and begin creating a very engaging comparison with audio narration, with real-time pricing, and the kind of interactive options that they expect to be able to make a good and accurate decision. But integration for Mortgage Coach is probably more pivotal for us than many other products, because we have to integrate with so many different places. At any point in the workflow where someone might talk about fees, terms, or ownership costs, you have to be able to generate a total cost analysis. You have to be able to generate a rent versus own. And that might be at the beginning of the transaction, that might be at the middle of the transaction, that might be at the end of a transaction. And so, no matter where that TCA shows up, you want relevant information to be on that analysis at any point in time. And so, when you think about rates and fees, that makes a lot of sense. Another great partner that I mentioned was Social Survey or Experience.com. So when you send out an automated analysis to thousands of people, or when you have a total cost analysis that you created through any of the integration points, it'll contain your reviews. So in tandem with the loan comparison that's being shown, it's going to show that actual set of reviews and all the detailed reviews that go into more depth about that particular loan officer from kind of an objective standpoint and a subjective standpoint when you look at how individuals rate them. So you're able to see all of this information together. And in that spirit of collaboration, when you look at our 26 plus integration partners, many of them are TMC leaders. We've shared time with them on other panels together. And many of the lenders that use the Mortgage Coach solution are TMC lenders as well. And so, we take a position of, we'll integrate with anyone. Our APIs are open. We have lenders as small as a few originators, regional credit unions that have used our APIs to create amazing experiences. And of course, we have the 7 of the top 10 purchase lenders in the country. You saw some G-rate examples, or the Loan Depots of the world, et cetera, where thousands of originators can produce presentations. But I get asked a lot, with so many people using the total cost analysis, what makes it different from organization to organization? And the bottom line difference is the advisor. Do not shortchange yourself when you talk about any of the technologies, whether it's our technology today or all of the great leaders that I've seen on the tech talks, whether it's people who are helping with notarization or e-closing or sales and marketing or just data in general. The fantastic array of partners that you've put together are special, but to really create something captivating and impactful to the industry, it takes somebody to bring that to the front lines where that rubber hits the road. And that's the originator. And one of the sad facts is, for decades, as you know, 20% of originators have done 80% of the business. And this is the year where, if you haven't been in that 20%, you can move into that 20%, in my view, with the least amount of additional effort and the most amount of possible upside. But we're at a critical time where, if you don't make that, decision to learn how to put technology to work for you, you are going to be left behind. And people who are automating, the wholesaler, other folks who are doing data mining, the things that are occurring in the market to try to own your consumer is going to disrupt your relationship if you don't really decide to become the trusted advisor today. Because an advisor today gets the business of tomorrow, and that is proven in any and every industry. Deliver great service and you never have to worry about sales.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on. Doesn't matter how much technology you have at your fingertips. If you're not effectively leveraging that and using the human element to position that in a way that's effective to your counterparty on the other end, you're not leveraging everything you've got at your fingertips. It's so spot on, Joe. I want to switch gears with you here real quick. You with Mortgage Coach are in this pivotal position within the industry, and you touched on it, where there's so many different components of data or elements of the origination process that touch the Mortgage Coach platform. I'm interested, from your perspective, what you see out there is some emerging technology solutions that are starting to bubble up within our industry, or even directly related to the origination process, that you think we're going to see kind of globally really take off within the next 12 to 18 months?
Well, sure. I mean, you've got a lot of interesting things that have happened from a regulatory standpoint. I'm a big fan of a lot of the walls that are coming down, whether it's on the state level or the federal level, as we work very hard as an industry towards simplified electronic type of transactions, whether it's, remote notarization and some of the things that have really been innovative there. When you look at some of the things that are happening with more automation behind appraisal and valuation, you're going to see more adoption there. When you look at things that allow validation and verification for the consumer, whether it's asset or employment, the things that are fundamental to initial technology like day one certainty, that's now leading to just faster and faster close times and more accurate underwriting processes and savings for the customer when you can have things like risk-based pricing. It wasn't very long ago when only one MI provider had risk-based pricing, and folks thought that that was really in left field. And now everybody, every program is risk-based pricing. So I think that you see this kind of movement towards a more consumer-empowered type of process that requires a lot of new data elements, that requires a lot of new kind of automation and collaboration behind the scenes. Again, when you look at Mortgage Coach in the last 12 months, we've delivered hundreds of thousands, millions of TCAs, and many of them being automated. One great lender, Union Home Loans, turned on the Simple Nexus Mortgage Coach integration, and in a single quarter delivered 20,000 customized total cost analyses that wouldn't have gotten in front of the customer without a lender click just a quarter before. So, I mean, the type of automation and things that are happening behind the scenes to make the lender's life easier and the consumer's life easier has never been better. But here's the reality. There is no amount of automation that can approach the type of consumer relationship required to have somebody sign on to the largest debt of their lives and to really understand financial terminology that they didn't learn in school. I mean, let's face it, if we quiz our customers on how do you calculate APR, the vast majority aren't going to understand it. Blows their mind. If those of us have kids in school and maybe you have high school kids, look at the curriculum. Unfortunately, it's not part of the standard curriculum for all the things that they teach kids today. So it is an incredible situation to find that, hey, this information just isn't readily available. And so the advisor will always be there. But what I see happening is this data changing. And there's two places that we're helping innovate. But one interesting area is student loan debt. You see some new folks coming to market, folks like LoanSense. There was another recent acquisition by a consumer company called Acorns that bought a company called Pillar. Those are all companies that operate on this consumer finance type of conversation. And you're going to see that, I think, leading to more dialogue about mortgage, because the mortgage is such an important part of a consumer's financial plan. But for so many years, these types of products and solutions have only focused on a particular type of investment, stocks and other things that consumers are interested in. Or you see other types of lenders, perhaps when you put some evaluation on credit unions, where the consumer has no idea that the credit union can provide a mortgage, but they absolutely knew that the credit union could provide a personal loan or other financial products that are kind of there. So this idea that the mortgage is going to become more ubiquitous, that home ownership is going to become more of a standard part of every financial planning conversation, I think we're finally seeing that. I mean, for many, many years, the promise was that every CPA, every financial planner would talk about mortgage. That never materialized. They just don't. And so, I think that you're just going to see that more and more from these online solutions and online marketplaces. But that rate confusion and rate conversation has never been more prevalent. All of us can go on Facebook right now and find ads from the top lead companies that break a lot of rules and that advertise rates that aren't real. And so, that's going to be there. You're going to always need an advisor.
Great points across the board. And so to close out the discussion, you've already shared with us some great, exciting initiatives, new integrations that Mortgage Coach has put out for the platform in recent months and over the past year. I'd love to close with kind of shining the light, to the extent that you can share, maybe some exciting initiatives coming down the line this year for Mortgage Coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, to be a trusted advisor in today's market, you have to be able to illustrate any type of loan option and be able to have that conversation about those loan options in a way that the consumer really understands and that makes sense for their overall financial plan. And as you mentioned, we've released a lot this year, a lot of integrations. One of our flagship items was debt consolidation and really innovating the way that you could show side-by-side comparisons of a debt consolidation strategy. It's adding, when you think about what Mortgage Coach is doing over the next 12 months, we're adding many more types of strategy scenarios that will get their own unique illustration, like debt consolidation. The one that we've been asked when we've surveyed our tens of thousands of members, we've been asked to produce a reverse mortgage total cost analysis. So, we're hard at work to deliver a TCA that can show a HECM loan and that can help illustrate a reverse mortgage solution, especially when you think about the number of buyers of homes and the number of homeowners that are entering the age bracket that are going to require a conversation about a HECM loan, and potentially in many cases a great alternative to a home equity line of credit that needs to be discussed. And forward mortgage originators don't really know how to have that dialogue, whether it's to introduce why it's a good option or why it's not a good option, but we need to be able to facilitate that comparison. And so thousands of hours of development time, hundreds of interviews of top producing reverse originators, talking to consumers that bought reverse mortgages both recently and when they didn't have a very good reputation, and really figuring out how do we help both professionals and consumers understand reverse, and in working with folks like Reverse Vision and working with other top lenders that are doing reverse loans, we're innovating a very, very amazing total cost analysis solution like the debt consolidation. And we'll be adding some other loan types. Other originators have asked for things like clearer investment property TCAs, break even type of scenarios, and even an offset mortgage. The idea of this, you see them predominantly in the UK, but several great lenders have brought them here to the States, where you put your entire paycheck, so to speak, into your home, and you're using a line of credit to facilitate all of your transactions in a way that pays the home down faster. And these are all innovative, interesting kind of loan scenarios where, when we can take the 99% of the market that we cover with the total cost analysis out of the box today and add these kind of niche loan product solutions that are really important to the customers they serve. So that's, Tom, what's coming down the pike, and combining that with our in-product education and everything that we released this year, we're going to help, thousands of originators help millions of families that they wouldn't have otherwise with these innovations.
Oh, you are. And that's got to be so exciting and just truly rewarding too. I mean, I think of the example of, looking to create TCAs in the reverse and HECM space. And when you talk to most mortgage lenders, if they even have a reverse or HECM offering, typically it's confined to, maybe a single expert originator or a small team. And, to your point, the vast majority of originators in this industry do not know how to effectively position that offering, or want no part of it, just in large part because of a lot of the preconceived notions of how a reverse or HECM mortgage operates, just going back to the prior industry meltdown. And I think that could be a huge boon over time to originators and mortgage lenders alike, to be able to expand their originations and provide a unique solution to, as you mentioned, I mean, more and more of the boomer generation every day is hitting that retirement age, or that minimum age threshold, where a reverse or HECM product can be a viable solution for them. So that's truly exciting, especially from an education standpoint.
Well, no doubt. And again, we're doing a lot of amazing things to help expand education. But when you think about the loan products that need the most explanation, closing that gap is so critical on behalf of the consumer. And we really feel we fill that role in a very special way. Hence, we have integrations to all the LOSs, all the pricing engines, all the solutions that we just talked about to make it work well for everyone. And, I'm so, like you said, proud to be an original kind of member of the TMC, watch you guys grow and add so many forward-thinking lenders and forward-thinking partners. Again, one of the things that I think is different about the folks that you have brought together is we really do work together. You put together huddles where as partners we're sitting down talking about the challenges that lenders in your collaborative have faced and really coming up with solutions based directly on that feedback, things that come out of the collab labs, things that come out of the, the annual events. I'm pumped, to be meeting back in person in September and, getting to see a lot of the folks in the industry again who are being forward thinkers and putting the change where the change is needed. All the data says that the market is going to continue in a very different and positive way, hopefully, but we've got a lot of renters whose future is uncertain. We have a lot of forbearance participants. We have a lot of pending foreclosures. So the industry as a whole, professionals need to be ready and prepared for the changes ahead to make sure that we can absolutely serve every single customer possible. Because it is no, it's no illusion that originators play a really important part in the recovery. And I hope everyone here on the call and everyone who is a professional that listens to this takes their responsibility seriously and does their absolute best in 2021. And well, with the help of the collaborative, I'm sure many will.
No, Joe, I really appreciate that and appreciate the plug for the return to in-person events with TMC Reunited coming up this summer in mid-September, and registration's open for any folks joining us for today that haven't gotten word yet or taken a look. So feel free to check that out on the Collaborative's website. Joe, I'm going to look forward to seeing Mortgage Coach and yourself out in California in September. And to your point, just getting the opportunity to kind of collaborate back in person with folks. There's only so much that we can do, but we can do a lot via Zoom and leveraging the technology at our hands. But I know it will be a breath of fresh air to everybody just to have that engagement back in person again, and a lot of the takeaways that will help benefit all of us and just the industry at large that should come out of the September event. So, again, I want to thank you for taking the time to be my guest today, your long-time support of TMC, and not only all that you've done to support us at the Collaborative, but all that you and Mortgage Coach have done to support the industry through tech advancements, as well as the educational piece. So thank you for your time, sir, and being an advocate for our industry.
Yeah, Tom. Well, again, thank you for the opportunity to help share the message. And I hope everyone here, does join more of the TMC events and reach out to us at Mortgage Coach, joe@mortgagecoach.com. Shoot a note. Always happy to talk. So thanks, Tom, for the opportunity. And well, we'll be around.
I love it. And a quick reminder to our listeners, be on the lookout for the podcast and YouTube links that you can view this on demand and share internally with your teams for anybody that's going to gain value from our discussion today. And we'll see you back in 2 weeks on TMC Tech Talk, April 29th, where I'm joined with Melissa Thomas and Mike Prince from Active Comply. So until then, you're talking TMC, you're talking tech. Joe, you be well, and everybody out there be well. We'll look forward to seeing you back in the flesh very soon.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tom.
All right, bye, guys.